This is Review Lesson 1, Operations with Integers. So integers are the set of whole numbers. Okay, so whole numbers have no decimals. So that includes positive numbers, negative numbers, and the number 0. So no decimals, no fractions when we say integers. So let's look at adding and subtracting these integers. So if we're adding two integers, if the signs are the same, then the sum will also have the same sign. So if we have 7 plus 2, those are both positive numbers. Our answer is also going to be positive. If, on the other hand, we had negative 7 plus negative 2, okay, and that's in brackets because that negative is attached. We don't want to get it confused with a subtraction sign. Okay, but that is really the same. When we have a plus and then a minus right next to each other, that's actually just subtracting. So negative 7 minus 2 is going to be negative 9. Okay, so if the signs are the same on the integers we're adding, the answer will also be the same. If the signs are different, on the other hand, then the sum will have the sign of the larger number. Okay, so for example, negative 5, I'll keep my colors here. Negative 5 plus 3. Okay, that 5 is larger than 3, so I know my answer is going to be negative, and the answer is negative 2. On the other hand, if I have 9 plus negative 5, 9 is larger than 5, so my answer is going to be positive 3. Oh, positive 4. Okay, so on the other hand, if we're subtracting two integers, what we can really do is we can add the opposite. So this concept is a bit more confusing, and if you don't understand it, don't worry too much about it. But what this means is if we have 2 minus negative 4, we know that when we have two negative signs next to each other, that's actually the same as adding. So this is just 2 plus 4. So we're adding the opposite, which is obviously 6. Okay, on the other hand, if we have negative 3 minus 2, that's actually the same as minus 3, or you can think of it as negative 3 plus negative 2. Okay, so 3 minus 2, those are both positive, or negative 3 minus 2. We have a negative number, and technically 2 is positive in this case, right, because we're just subtracting. But if adding is easier for you, all you have to do is change the sign of that second number. Negative 3 plus negative 2 gives us negative 5. So when we're multiplying or dividing, when multiplying or dividing two integers, if the integers have the same sign, then the answer is always going to be positive. All right, so for example, 2 plus 3, or sorry, 2 times 3, right? Two positive numbers. My answer is also going to be positive. On the other hand, if I had negative 4 times negative 2 So those signs are again the same. So I know my answer is going to be positive 8. Okay, on the other hand, if the two integers have different signs, then the answer is negative. Right, so for example, if we had 12 divided by -3, okay, the signs are different, so our answer has to be negative. Okay, same thing, if we had, I don't know, 4 times -6, our answer is going to be -24. Okay, so performing multiple operations, last part of this note here. So when evaluating expressions, you need to follow something that we like to call the order of operations. Okay, and we use an acronym to help us remember this, which I'm hoping that you've heard before. I'm sure you've heard it before. I'm hoping you remember it. Okay, so we use this acronym BEDMAS. So remember, you're obviously going to need to know what BEDMAS stands for. So the B is brackets, E is exponents, D is for division, M for multiplication, A for addition, and S for subtraction. So when we're using these, though, just want to make sure brackets is always going to be the first thing we do. Okay, exponents is always going to be the second. For division and multiplication and addition and subtraction, it works a bit differently. Okay, basically, it doesn't matter if it's division first or multiplication first. You're always just going to move left to right. Okay, and same with addition and subtraction. So what I mean by that is if you have 3 minus 2 plus 4, technically according to BEDMAS, addition comes first. So you might be thinking that you have to do 2 plus 4 first, but that's not actually the case because they're kind of on equal ground. So you're always just going to move left to right. So you would do 3 minus 2 first, and then you would add your 4 at the end. So let's look at a couple examples here. Small eraser. There we go. Okay, so let's look at this example first. So first thing we're going to do is look for brackets. Okay, we can see there are brackets here, so that's what we're going to evaluate first. -7 plus 2 is -5 times 4. Okay, and you're going to use your rules from above to complete this. -5 times 4, those have different signs, so I know my answer has to be negative. 5 times 4 is 20. Okay, that one is done. Now let's move over here. So again, the first thing we're doing is looking for brackets. I don't see any brackets in this question. Okay, so I'm going to move on to exponents. I do have an exponent. Remember, an exponent is the base, the power amount of times. So 2 to the power of 2 is a bad example, but if you think about 3 to the power of 2, okay, this isn't 3 times 2, this is 3 times 3. Okay, so just as a side note, remember that with your exponents. Okay, so I'm going to leave everything else the same and deal with that exponent. So 2 to the power of 2 is 4 times 5 minus 4. Okay, so I'm done my brackets, done my exponents. Now I'm moving to division and multiplication. Okay, remember you're moving left to right. Okay, so I'm going to leave my 3 plus and deal with this here. So 16 divided by 4 is 4 times 5 minus 4. Okay, again, I'm not adding yet. I have to deal with this multiplication first. 4 times 5 is 20. minus 4. Now I'm done. All I see left is addition and subtraction. So I'm going to move left to right. So 3 plus 20 is 23 minus 4, which is 19. Okay, and we're finally done that one. So one last example here. I'm just going to use the space over on the left so that we have some room. So when we have a bunch of numbers divided by a bunch of numbers, what you can kind of do is picture that there's brackets around the top and brackets around the bottom. So you want to fully simplify the numerator or the top and then fully simplify the denominator before you actually divide. Okay, so when you look at the numerator and the denominator separately, you're still just going to work through BEDMAS. So we look at the numerator here. We can see that there is brackets, but these brackets just represent a negative number, right? They just didn't want you to get confused and think this was subtraction. So we actually don't have any brackets to simplify. We move on to exponents. We don't have any exponents to simplify. So we start with our division and multiplication. So I'm going to leave that 24 alone. Okay, negative 12 divided by negative 3. Okay, those are two negative numbers, so I know the answer is going to be positive. So we have 24 plus 4. Okay, now we can start by simplifying the numerator. Or sorry, the denominator. So we go back. We start with brackets again. Okay, we can see there are brackets here that we can simplify. Negative 4 plus 12 is going to be 8. Divided by negative 2. Okay, now again, we're working just with the numerator, just with the denominator. So on the top, we don't have any division or multiplication, so we can move to addition and subtraction. 24 plus 4 is 28. 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. Okay, now we're finally at a point where our numerator is simplified and our denominator is simplified, so we can simply carry out this division. Okay, so 28 divided by negative 4 is going to be negative 6. And we have completed this example. Okay. So that is the end of Review 1, Operations with Integers. So make sure you complete the worksheet, which will be attached on D2L, and ask any questions if you have them.